We went from a bear market, by definition, to a bull market in one day.
Being an entrepreneur is you got to take risks, try to mitigate it as much as you can, but you got to pull the trigger.
By the end of the day, the market had rebounded 2,800 points.
You could almost sell anybody gold.
Hey everybody, it's me, the Einstein of Wall Street, here from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. I have the amazing opportunity here to meet Dan Pena today, who is somebody I've been watching for the longest time in the world. And so I get the honor of actually welcoming
my
you
pleasure, sir.
To my show.
My pleasure.
There's so many questions I would love to ask you, but I'd love to ask you about, so you mentioned, we spoke for a moment before about the last time you were here on the floor of the stock exchange. And so can you give me a little insight into your time on Wall Street? I know I spoke to your wife for a moment about that you were in the Army, right?
Correct.
And can you sort of give me a little, the trajectory from that time?
When
you got to
I
Wall
volunteered
Street?
for the draft in 1966. When I got out of the military, I went into private, got out as an officer, and I went back to school. And the action, I wanted to know where the action was.
Right.
And anybody I talked to said it's Wall Street, okay?
Yeah.
And no matter how you cut it, people talk to me about real estate, insurance, everything under the sun. But you got to go to Wall Street, and you got to get your teeth kicked in there.
Right.
And so I interviewed around and wound up at Bear Stearns.
Right.
And with virtually no experience, but almost no experience.
Okay.
And at that time, Cy Lewis was just stepping down as the managing partner, and a guy named Ace Greenberg was taking over.
A guy named Ace Greenberg.
Yeah. And so when I came for the second to the last interview, they brought me to the floor,
right.
And a paper all over, and much more active than this. I mean, a lot more people.
Well, that was the day of open outcry.
Yeah.
That was the auction market. We were 7,000 people in this room at that time.
Yeah. And so I saw that, God, this is terrific. I mean, I got to get into this.
Yes.
Somehow I got to figure out how to get into this.
Yeah.
And they were kind enough. They didn't hire me on the spot. And in those days, Cy Lewis used to answer the phone. You push 1, and he answered the phone no matter where you were. And but I went to work in the Century City office that had just been opened up by a guy named Fred Kane. Not related to the Kane that became CEO of Bear Stearns ultimately. And they used to have a morning call. It was about 4 in the morning for us, 7 in the morning, where all the offices were connected. And I was up late about 60 seconds, and somebody asked me, a guy named Gary Shimano, who's still around, who was running the San Francisco office, said, "Where you been?" And I said, "Well, truthfully, I just cleaned up the dog poop of my 3 Great Danes, and it weighed 7 pounds, 7 ounces." And so I became the dog poop guy. And that was my moniker for a long time, and I was very successful. And I ultimately left Bear Stearns.
Did you become a trader? Were you on the portfolio desk?
No. I traded to begin with. I actually traded commodities first.
Okay.
That's
where I got my stuff.
Okay, and commodities, I mean, it was Russian roulette. And I hear stories about guys making a lot of money, but it certainly wasn't me.
Yeah.
I wasn't one of the guys.
No.
And I used to make a joke that everybody should have a revolver on their desk, with it cocked and 1 bullet, because those are about the same odds of you making any money. And then I was one of the first principals on the CBOE, Chicago Board of Options. Yeah. And 74 that was. And I just loved the action. But then I discovered oil. I had a client who used to trade futures, okay? And I came with a deal to Bear Stearns, and I said, we should do this deal. Oil's too confusing. And I said, well, I'm going to leave with it then. I'm going to leave, okay? And they didn't believe me, but I left. Right. And so, and it was the Walio oil field in Salawati, Indonesia. That was worth $1 gazillion. Right. So I had a little teeny piece of it. And then about 15 years after I left, a lawyer from Bear Stearns, this is just before they went out of business,
right.
Writes me and calls me, and they said, well, how come we haven't been getting our checks for this oil field? I had a big letter on Bear Stearns stationery. Take it. God bless you. Don't embarrass our name.
Yep. Right.
Now they want income
a piece of it, of course, and it became profitable. 15
years later, and I told them to piss off. And so and then of course, you know what happened to Bear Stearns. I don't have to explain to you. And
from 200 to 2.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then out of business.
Yeah, correct. It was tragic. Yeah. And several of the partners got stuck.
Yeah.
and a couple of the partners got away just before that.
Yeah.
It's like that, they got a message from God or something, and they got out at 150, 160, whatever that was.
Even though, because even the night before, I mean, even Mr. Kramer, no disrespect to him, was calling it. I mean, even all the agencies were saying the stock is solvent. I mean, this company is solvent. Everything's great. Nobody could have foreseen it, although maybe a few did.
Yeah, a few did, and so. And I'm still in touch with a couple of them. Of course, most of them are gone now because I was a kid then, okay, and they were old. Right. So the ones that are still left are either have dementia, unfortunately,
right.
Are dead,
right.
And a couple in prison.
Yeah,
exactly. And a couple in prison. And I told you early on that they used to tease me that I got to be some part of me's got to be a Jew, and so and I kept saying I'm not. And he says, and then later, because of my relationship at Bear Stearns, then I went and did business with the Israeli government. And they always said the same thing. Some part of you has got to be a Jew. We're talking to you because you used to be with Bear Stearns, right. And but they used to call me the White Hope. I know that's not the thing you say now.
No, it's okay. We're politically correct. We'll do our best here.
Yeah, and and so it was. But this is where the action used to be, and it's you can start with nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, look, I sorry to interrupt you. So I came down here in 1985. Right. My parents are Holocaust survivors. My parents met, fell in love, came to America. My father became a very well-known doctor. I did a lot of things. I traveled around the world. I was an entrepreneur, a word which I wanted to ask you about what you think of that word, which is a little bit jaded at this point. It's overused. What really makes a good entrepreneur? But I found my way here as a summer job as a teletypist. The minute I walked on the floor that day, it was March 28th, 1985, the day that Ronald Reagan rang the opening bell. I felt that action just like you, because you remind me of me in so many ways.
The adrenaline, it's adrenaline rush.
Exactly.
I mean, every day.
Every day. And it's still, for me, every day, I've still been coming here, 41 years, it's like being in the Super Bowl every day.
Yeah.
And so you continued your life that way, right? You always went where the action was.
And I've always run towards the gunfire. And being an entrepreneur is you got to take risks, try to mitigate it as much as you can, but you got to pull the trigger. Right. I mean, you just got to pull the trigger.
You're a no bullshit guy, right? I mean, that's always been your motto. I've heard many of your talks, and and I think, what do you think of I mean, let's ask, what do you think of this whole social media thing and everything? Because for me, I find it a way that people. It's as much as it's connecting people in a lot of ways. People are not real, right? People have forgotten how to really sit down with somebody one-on-one.
They've lost their ability to communicate.
Correct.
And then Corona made it much more easier because then and now you've got Zoom calls.
Right.
I'm on a lot of boards. I couldn't be on this many boards if it wasn't for Zoom meetings.
Right.
I'd always be on
the
a plane.
Connector, right?
Yeah.
You're known. I am also. You're known as the connector in so many ways.
Yeah.
But you also. I love the fact that as I said, you're the no bullshit guy. When you sit down with people, you basically tell them like, shit or get off the pot. I mean, go do it. One of your great lines is just do it. Right? I mean, just fucking do it. Yeah, exactly. And people are just sitting there. They have trouble making decisions, right? They don't really know how to communicate with another human being, and it's a little bit scary. What do you think of? Give me a little. I know you think about crypto, right? I mean, that's.
Well, I mean that. I wasn't quite as negative as Charlie Munger was, or Warren Buffett is, but I mean. And I don't believe it's ever going to be the basis of the U.S. currency, or that's a pipe dream. That's all horseshit.
I agree.
Okay, but I mean, it's a product of the new entitled kid that wants money yesterday.
Right.
And
the get rich quick scheme.
Exactly. Okay. It's not much different than a multi-level marketing deal.
Right.
And most of those go in the toilet.
Yeah.
And the fact, will it ever go to zero? I wouldn't bet any money on it, but I wouldn't bet any money that it's going to go to $1 million like they talk. I don't know what those guys are smoking.
People will pay what they think it's worth. I mean, it's a matter of they'll pay what they think it's worth. Let's pivot quickly to gold and silver.
Okay.
Right? Tell me what your opinion is about the recent
When I first got here and I was a commodity guy, I was a gold bug.
Yeah.
Okay. And you could almost sell anybody gold. I mean, and it was hot. And supposedly there's only 100 Olympic swimming pools of gold in the whole world. Right. And and I fell for that hook, line, and sinker. And
a limited commodity, something that would have value based on how much there was in the world.
And nobody thought about where do you store it, how do you carry it, how do you, other than jewelry, Stuff.
It was shiny and nice.
Yeah, exactly. And so I fell victim to that. And then I partnered up with the Hunt family. Bunker Hunt was my partner.
Okay.
And when they tried to capture silver, if you remember.
Yes.
And I was the junior guy on the tail, and went to jail,
Right.
and I had so little of the company. They just let he can't know anything.
Right.
I didn't know anything.
Yeah, right.
A bunker used to say, you got 2% of this, you got 5% of this, and but that was a hell of a ride. And
Could you have ever thought that we've seen over the last
Never.
3 months that we went to $115?
Yeah,
I mean, it was
I don't believe it.
$20, $30.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on why?
No,
Where do you think that's coming from?
Well, some people say it used to be the Russians. The Russians are out of money. It used to be the Saudis. The Saudis are spending money on other things. But there's a lot of people that still keep their money in their mattress.
Yeah.
And so they're if not forcing it up, they're at least supporting the price.
Yeah.
And I know, you can't fight the tape. It doesn't really matter who the hell's doing it. It's being done.
I love that because people will say, like, I'm not a financial advisor. What I do is I call myself a forensic broker. I try and explain on a day-to-day basis why the market does what it does. So we were just sitting here and trying to figure out why, normally gold and or silver is a hedge against the market.
Correct.
They thought that crypto, Bitcoin, was going to be a hedge against the market. That turned out not to be the case at all. And there's all these fascinating conspiracy theories. I know that you're not one, but you're the debunker of so
Correct.
much of that bullshit, right? So there's a story out now that one of the reasons we went into Venezuela, right? Venezuela has some of the largest silver deposits
Reserves
in the world, right? And apparently there was when J.P. Morgan bought out a couple of those banks that went defunct, right? That they ended up acquiring a really bad short position on silver, right? That when they took over, I guess Silicon Valley Bank, one of those when they were bailing out the regional banks, and that their trade was really going against them in a huge way, and that is a fascinating conspiracy theory, and that one of the reasons we went into Venezuela was to be able to get as much of this physical silver that was there in the world. There's so many conspiracy theories all over the world. I mean, obviously Bitcoin is one of them.
Well, there's another one that is not talked about much, but supposedly Venezuela has the biggest oil reserves.
Correct.
Okay. Next, I think is Saudi.
Yeah.
Okay. You're around long enough to know that Saudis tried to take Aramco public for 80 times
Right.
in the last 50 years.
And
they
even fairly recently.
Okay,
Again.
and they went to all the exchanges, this being one of them,
Yep.
and they said no. And the main reason they said no is because Saudi government, which is Aramco, said that you can't have a legitimate, they don't use the word legitimate, a reserve report to show how much producing reserves we have, prove unproducing reserves.
Right.
Because contrary to the 300 or 400 billion barrels, they have trillions of barrels. And if your audience knew what I know, oil would be $3 a barrel.
Right.
You've
said that too. You've said that you know who actually made Bitcoin and right. So there's no transparency. That for me, I always say I stay away from any commodity where look. I'm not getting the call when they decide to dump oil.
Correct. They're not going to be calling
right,
you.
Right. They're not calling me. So I'm never. I always say this market is very curious with Mr. That we're one tweet away from crazy town. We know that this market, you can buy stock or invest in stocks for all the right reasons, and then one tweet comes out. In the old days, you'll remember this, that if you were the President of the United States or the head of the Federal Reserve, and you were going to disseminate information that had impact on the markets, it was either done before the market opened or after the market closed or as a designated news conference. Now, the President is able to send out a tweet at 3 a.m. that can turn this market around. Right, there was the first during Trump 1.0. He was at Davos, okay, his first economic forum there, and he mentioned tariffs and China. It was a Tuesday at 11 o'clock, and the market sold off 1,400 points in 11 minutes. By the end of the day, he had changed his mind. You know how he throws out a big swath and then pulls it back like he recently did with the Greenland thing. By the end of the day, the market had rebounded 2,800 points, and we closed up 1,400 points. We went from a bear market, by definition, to a bull market in one day. That kind of thing is, there's certain standards that Wall Street used to have, and now kind of all bets are off. It's a little bit of a cowboy and Indian scenario.
Well, and that favors some of the people here.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
They're always the rats. They're always the people. You know what's curious? Back in the day, and you'll remember this, when the companies used to have people who would hang out at the courthouse to see when there was a court case that was being done to affect the stock or things like that. Now, the information highway with the internet and with all that kind of stuff, the playing field is no longer level, right? It's a matter of who gets the information faster.
And information is almost instantaneous now.
It's instantaneous, and that's kind of troublesome. One thing I'll ask you: so you know that there are actually bots that can actually read social media and actually engage
Yep.
the markets, which is kind of. I mean, what do you think about that? What do you think of electronic trading and all that kind of thing?
Well, I believe that AI is what we're talking about.
Yes.
Is going to replace in the next 10 or 15 years 40 to 60% of all entry-level jobs. The smarter guys than me about AI that say it's going to replace 80%
Right.
of all entry-level jobs, and the real smart guys
Right.
Believe that this century there aren't going to be any jobs. Okay. And this is one of the first things that'll go.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, we've done a pretty good job on holding on to it to the best of our ability to keep. They've done a big, to preserve this place to the best of our ability. Obviously, it's a shadow of what it was, but it's still the greatest financial institution in the world.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
it's just
So you really believe that about AI?
Yeah, I do. I
Right.
do. I
And
do.
what
And
would be
because follow the money.
right?
I know what the big money does.
Right.
And the big money are betting their balls on AI. But before that, and you're old enough to know, the real big money started in the 60s and 70s buying water rights. Because one day, this much water is going to be worth more than gasoline.
Yes.
And that's why Bill Gates, Ted Turner,
Right,
and guys like
exactly.
that are the biggest landowners, not
Yes,
for the land,
yes,
but for the mineral rights.
Yes.
And when you talk to kids about that, they, isn't there a law against that? No. And this against that.
What would be if you were in charge? Right? I mean, politics was never a thing that you were interested in,
No,
was it?
no.
It was not. If you were in
I
charge,
wanted to be.
how would you
I wanted to be a
handle-
priest.
You
when I
wanted
was
to be a
little.
priest?
Yeah, I wanted to be a
Okay.
priest. Yeah, yeah.
I could have seen you here in the 80s trading stock.
Yeah,
right?
I
That
was a
action.
wild man.
Yeah.
I used to
exactly.
jump when I was in Chicago. I used to jump from desk to desk with a bullhorn, and the bear market moves. Dive, dive, and they thought I was nuts, and I was nuts, And of course, I was in that position the right way,
Right.
and I'd be crying alligator tears if I was in the position, And the things I try to explain to kids, when you're short, your risk is unlimited. I mean,
Yes,
you know,
unlimited.
And I don't
And
think
they don't understand that.
No, they don't.
They
There's
don't
got to be
understand.
some. I'll just walk away. Well, did you read the papers you signed?
Exactly.
They're going to be coming for your house and your girlfriend's house and everybody else's house.
Yeah.
And that excited me.
Yeah.
And but the older I get, I see too many shadows now. I know what can go wrong, and so I've mitigated my risk just by my age.
Right.
It's things that I used to do 25 years ago that I wouldn't think of doing today.
Right.
I just wouldn't. I used to have a Chinese client from China, and he used to bet $50,000 to see if the ants fucked. And then and when he got super rich, he $5 million. Just I'll bet $5 million, Danny boy, $5 million, they buck. And I don't know if there's any guys like that still left.
Well, you know what I'll ask you? Do you know what poly market is?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your opinion on that? That is a prediction marketplace, right? That people are out there able to bet whether Jesus is coming back or whether President Trump is having chicken for lunch. I mean, they say that that's going to be the largest market in 5 years, bigger than this place ever was. What's your opinion on people being able to do?
Well, I haven't really followed it, so I can't give an opinion. But I mean, who's behind it?
Yeah. Well, apparently, I mean that's always your question. I like that. Who is behind it? And we don't know so many of those.
Okay,
things. You
well-
may. I think you do.
Well,
but
yeah. But it's like when this little Japanese guy invented Bitcoin supposedly in a cave.
Yeah, right.
Okay. And I said when it first came out at $2-3 or 50 cents, and I said, who are the people that would benefit most from the U.S. economy going in a tank?
Right.
China and Russia.
Yeah.
Okay. About 6-7 years ago, China took it off the market because it was screwing their economy up, not ours.
Yeah.
And so the only one, I'm pretty sure, I bet money that Russia is either directly or indirectly involved with the initiation of Bitcoin. And I've got several Bitcoin billionaires. They bought it when it was $1.
Right. And they've held it.
Yet,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the last thing I'll do, and I'm so grateful
Well,
for your
it's
time.
my pleasure.
You mentioned fear, right? You say false evidence appearing real.
Correct.
I mean, isn't it fear is when I speak to younger people, I say this is an age where you should never ever feel you can't knock on every door. What is the
Correct.
one of the things I learned from you is about we learn so much more from failure than we do
Correct.
from success. You've said that a number of times.
Correct.
That success, you don't learn shit from success.
Correct.
Or you've learned it from failure.
Yeah.
And give me one of your greatest moments where that was an obstacle that you overrode, that you were fearful
Well,
of.
the one that I'm most known for is I took an option public which on a stock exchange, a London stock exchange. In 99 days, I turned a $60,000 option into 400 million. Okay,
Is that a big part of your wealth? That was some of your
that
earliest
that
wealth?
was my wealth.
That was your wealth.
Yeah, and the and it was against the Bank of England rules and all that. But I had a genius mentee, a guy named Jeremy Knight, who convinced the Bank of England that there was nothing in. They called the rule book then the yellow book. And so we got it away. And then as soon as we got it away, the next day I flew to Amsterdam and did it there.
Right.
And then by the time I got to Munich, they'd already made it illegal. So I got it away twice. But everybody said that if this fails, then you're going to be known for this failure and you're never going to raise a dime. But, I didn't have a dime, so they're making shit to me.
What would you say to your 15-year-old self or your 20-year-old self in this day? What you've learned all these years?
Taking action, even if it's wrong, is a learning process, and better to struck out a few times, but you got to take action because the world is filled with people that just talk about it and don't do anything.
And also, don't tell anybody about something you're going to do until.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? That's one of your greatest
Yeah.
things. I've learned so much from you.
Thank you. I
I've listened
appreciate
to you for years. And it's
Okay,
been
next time I'm in New York, let's have lunch, dinner, or drink,
I would
whatever.
love that. Can I have your contact info? Let's go have dinner.
Yeah. Well, can you give him my contact info?
This guy, of course, I know him.
I would love to go take you to dinner. That would be amazing. Let's do that.